In this question, 4 siblings added their ages together and found that they are 40 years old altogether, and they put that information in the form of a pie chart. So what percentage do we have altogether? So you know that the complete pie is 100%. So we're going to start our opening calculation with 100%. So 100% minus open brackets. Be sure to put your percent sign in. Make sure you've got your minus sign in. And when you do your brackets, when you create your first bracket, make sure it looks like a bracket and not a squashed up letter C. So we know that Harry is 15%. And then we're going to put Chloe in, and we know she's 30%. And we know that Robbie, here we've got a right angle, and that's 25%. What do we do now? You know that we add all of these together. So 15%, 30%, and 25% becomes a total of 70%. 100% minus 70% is 30%. Who does the 30% belong to? That must be Riley. And we want to know how old Riley is. So 30% of 40, well, what's 10% of 40? You know that 10% is 4. We're looking for 30%. What do you do to 10% to get to 30%? You times it by 3, and then you just do that on the other side to the 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So Riley is 12 years old. Just as an aside, if we look at this pie, we can see that Riley is 30% and so is Chloe. But what do you notice about the section of the pie that they have? If they're 30%, they should both be the same. But in actual fact, Riley here is larger. He's got a larger section, a larger proportion of the pie. And that's because this pie chart is not drawn to scale. And sometimes you do see that in mathematical questions, not drawn to scale. So you can't make assumptions. You do have to work it out. Okay, let's go to another question. This one we've looked at before. 4 friends kept quiet for 140 hours altogether as part of a sponsored silence. They showed their times in a pie chart. Something different in this question. You've got a number in one of the parts of the pie, 50 hours. Don't make the mistake of converting that to a percentage, because 50 hours is already in the form that you need it, because it says how long was Delilah quiet for, how many hours. Well, that's already there for you. When you get a number in the pie, you actually start your opening calculation with the number given at the beginning of the question, the total. So that's 140 hours minus open brackets. We've got 50 hours for Felicity. Now Kimberly she's got a right angle there. That's 25%. 25% of 140 is half 140 and half it again. Half of 140 is 70, half of 70 is 35. So that there is for Kimberly. And Aurora is 30%. What's 30% of 140? So 30% of 140, well, you know what 10% is? 10% is 14. We want to find 30%. What do you do to 10% to get to 30%? You times it by 3. 14, I hope you know how to work this out. 14 times 3 is 42. Why? Because that's like saying 6 times 7, or 7 times 6. Okay, so do we have our answer? Is 42 our answer? No. That's how long Aurora was quiet for, 42. Then we add these together, which is 127. 140 minus 127 is 13. So who does that relate to? That is Delilah. Since we have all the others, Delilah must have been quiet and silent for 13 hours. And that's how you do that question. If you have a number in your pie, then your opening calculation will start with that number that's given as a total at the beginning. Okay, let's go on to our next question. Here we have a survey of 160 people to find out their favourite genre of books. And everything that the information is shown in the form of a pie chart. So we do not have any numbers here. They're all percentages. We know that science fiction is 25% because it's a right angle and that's a quarter. We want to know how many people prefer non-fiction. So we're going to do 100% minus open brackets. We've got 10% for romance. We have got 30% for mystery and crime, and then we've got 25% for science fiction. What do we do now? We add them all together, and that comes to, well, I know it's going to be something 5% in my units column because I've got a 5 there. So that's 40, 65%. 100% minus 65% is 35%. Who does the 35% belong to? That must be non-fiction. And since it says how many people prefer non-fiction, what is 35% of 160? So 35% of 160. So let's look at 10% first. 10% of 160 is 16. How do we get 30%? What do we do to 10% to get to 30%? We times that by 3. 16 times 3, I hope you know this. 16 times 3 is 48. So that's 30%. But now we need to get another 5% because remember it's asking for 35%. So 5%, well, since 10% is 16, 5% has got to be 8. So then we're going to add our 5% to our 30%. So what's 48 plus 8? 48 plus 8 is 56. So that means 56 people preferred non-fiction. Now, I'm not expecting you to write all of this at 48 plus 8. You should be able to work that out in your head very quickly and write down the answer. Let's look at one more last question. So in this last question, 180 children voted for their favourite superhero and used a pie chart to represent their results. Okay, so we've got all of them are percentages. My opening calculation is going to start with 100%. 100%, remember to get the percent sign, minus, nice bracket. You've got 35% here, and that's Superman, plus Batman, which is 10%. Then we've got Green Arrow, which is 25%. What am I going to do now? I'm going to add them all together. So 35%, 10%, and 25% is 70%. 100% minus 70% is 30%. Who does that 30% belong to? It must be Green Arrow, 30%. Oops, not Green Arrow. It should be Hulk, 30% there. Okay, how many votes did Hulk get? So he got 30% of the votes. So what's 30% of 180? So we know that 10% is 18. We want to get to 30%. What do you do to 10% to get to 30%? You times it by 3. 18 times 3 again. I hope you can calculate this. 18 times 3 is 54. So 54 people voted for Hulk as their favourite superhero. And that's how you do that question. Okay, I hope that's helpful, and I will do some more of these.